Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 13th of January and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper along with the background of articles and way forward. And before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download synoptic notes of this session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube, or you can directly visit Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Pilot by Sahil. Now, before starting newspaper discussion, let's see overview of entire newspaper so that you can understand that which articles are actually important in today's newspaper. So let's start with that. So first article, guys, here we can see is that world is in crisis and it's not clear how long it will last, says Modi. So Prime Minister of India had said this thing, global south. Global south means developing countries. Okay, the global south, they don't have much representation in global governance institutions. For example, you take example of United Nations Security Council, you take example of other UN bodies. So these countries don't have, okay, and because of that particular thing, there are injustices. Right now world is in crisis. Okay, we need to resolve that, and as India has taken the G20's presidency, India will try to see that how that particular thing can be reformed. Okay. However, guys, with respect to the UPSC examination, this is just the statement which has been given. However, you don't need to go too much in detail in this particular thing with respect to the examination. Okay, so just we can read the heading now. After that, vegetable prices help cool inflation. So we see this particular thing, that retail inflation, which has been constantly out of the reach of the Monetary Policy Committee. Constantly it has been high on night. Now it started to cool down, particularly because of the reduction in the vegetable prices that has been there. But guys, I'll not suggest you that you track the month by month data with respect to changes in inflation level, because that's not important. By the time you'll write your exam, they will change. Okay, so no need to go too much and follow that. Then advertisements etc have been given. Okay, then guys, again we come in regional section. So the regional politics, fine. Aam Aadmi Party versus BJP, all these things are going on. Moving on, why have an elected government in Delhi if center calls the shots? So if you remember, guys, in past 2 days, basically continuously we have discussed this particular dimension where a question has come that who will have a control over bureaucrats, civil servants that are posted in Delhi. When we talk about Delhi, Delhi is the union territory with its own legislature and three subjects of state list. For example, police, law and order, and land. They are not under the control of UT, Delhi government. They are under control of central government. Now a question comes that bureaucrats, civil servants, who will be under their control? This matter is going in Supreme Court. Okay, so Chief Justice of India had said that what's the logic of having an elected government if central government will be calling all the shots? But central government says this thing that the Delhi UT is a special UT. Okay, fine. Then moving on in this particular direction, advertisements etc, regional political issues, fine, ad again, these things have been given. Okay, the fog, the witness, not important article. Then metro plus. Okay, so guys, directly we'll reach to editorial, and on editorial only there are some relevant articles that we have. First article, entering a year of uncertainty. So this particular article, guys, will see with respect to that how Russia Ukraine war and what other changes are coming on world stage. We'll see this article. Then capital stalemate. So this article, guys, it's talking on that particular thing only, that how Aam Aadmi Party and BJP, okay, have a difference of opinions. Then Benjamin Netanyahu's bumpy road ahead. So guys, we have seen recently that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has come to power, and what are political prospects for him? Okay, so all these things are being talked about. Now the article majorly focuses on internal politics of Israel, not important for exam. Side article, government and opposition must agree on early date for a fresh election. So in Peru, there are crises going on, and recently 17 civilians have been killed in Peru in anti-government protests that are going on. Okay, then further moving on, will the budget be populist or fiscally responsible? Okay, so budget is to be announced in few weeks. Okay, so on that particular dimension, the article has been written. Now notebook. So the notebook, guys, article, the journalist writes their own accounts, their own stories in notebook article. So usually the article is not important for examination. Then coming to text and context page, analyzing the cheating in chess. Okay, so guys, here we see this particular thing that Magnus Carlsen, first of all, has alleged that Hans Niemann, okay, he is a US chess grandmaster. Hans Niemann has cheated in the chess, okay, and in retaliation, Hans Niemann has filed a defamation case on Magnus Carlsen. Okay, so basically, guys, it has been said that the moves that were made in the game, the moves that were made, they were like of a computer game. Okay, so this particular cheating has been done. Okay, now there are different perceptions that are coming. One of our report has been given in this particular direction. Okay, and in that report it has been said that yes, Hans Niemann, who is US chess grandmaster, has cheated earlier in online games, but it doesn't prove that in this game also he had proved. Okay, so this is something. Now guys, basically article doesn't contains much of substance. Majorly this matter that how they have made allegations on each other is being discussed more. Then a governor and a chief minister at loggerheads. Will see this article with respect to exam. Okay, be it movies or society, India has always cherished the syncretic culture. Okay, moving on guys in this particular. Now here the example of movies, fine, etc. are being given. India has made marked progress in LAC infrastructure. Okay, army chief. Now, now this article is important. India under constitution law declared by the Supreme Court is binding on all. So this is a news analysis article. We'll see this article. Side article also on the same line. Thankar's remarks on extraordinary attack on judiciary. Okay, then guys, the political articles etc. have been there. We don't need to go too much in the detail. However, here there is one article, minority notification, center submits views of states to Supreme Court. We'll see this article as what it is talking about. Then below article, judiciary legislature should respect boundaries set by the constitution. Okay, so we already are seeing from past 2 days that all India presiding officers conference is being organized, where the presiding officers of different state legislative assembly and parliament will be coming together and will discuss the common issues. So there they have said that legislature and judiciary should respect boundaries. We'll cover this article along with the other article that has already been there. Then moving on, after that, Joshimath demolition, 2 hotels are to be demolished. Okay, now here there is this article, missing doctor, CHCs face 80% shortfall of specialist. We'll see this particular article guys with respect to the examination. Then after that, India intensified crackdown. So Human Rights Watch report, briefly we'll see that. Then coming to world page, Sri Lanka Supreme Court orders Sri Sena to pay victims of bombings. Now these are the evolutionary details. Okay, no need to go too much in these particular things. Then industrial output rebounded to 7.1%. Again, I've told you many number of times that month by month data you don't need to track. Okay, however, here we see this thing that Goyal rules out mini trade pact with US, says GSP not a priority for India. We'll see this particular article. Then other corporate trends etc. have been given. Okay, no need to go in there. And then we have sports page. So this is guys the overview of entire newspaper. I hope that you have as what is important in newspaper, what is the placement of the articles which are important. Now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. Now, in every class before starting we take a GS quotation which can be used to complement our answers in GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Today we'll take the quotation from Archibald MacLeish. So Archibald MacLeish says, democracy is never a thing done. Democracy is always something that a nation must be doing. So democracy is not a destination. Democracy is not a goal that you have reached and you have become democratic for all the times to come. Rather, democracy is a process. Democracy is something that a nation must be doing. It's process. It's enhancement of human liberties, human dignities. How more we can reform our institutions, reform our processes so they become more inclusive. So democracy is constantly evolving. Democracy is not becoming, rather democracy is not reaching a destination, rather democracy is becoming. Okay, so this idea we can use in GS paper number 2 polity as well as essay. Now moving on in this particular direction, the first now guys, here we are going to take this particular article. First of all, let's read heading. Under constitution, law declared by Supreme Court is binding on all. Now there are other articles also on the same line that has come in newspaper. For example, judiciary legislature should respect boundaries set by the constitution. And then this article, Dhankar's remarks on extraordinary attack on judiciary. Now these three articles are actually the continuation of one issue that's going on. So we will be discussing, I have clubbed all these three articles here and we will see it in a comprehensive way as what it is talking about. Let's start discussion on this particular topic. Now, before guys, I want to give you a little background of this particular topic, and this topic is going to be important for GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, relations between executive and judiciary. Relations between executive and judiciary. Okay, this is here, this article will be important, one thing. Second thing is that guys, if you are following newspaper analysis regularly, this issue has come again and again in the news. Okay. So now let's see it. So basically guys, this issue is a continuation of judiciary versus executive, flat executive dispute. Now we see this particular thing that in past, executive, okay, particularly Vice President of India had said this particular thing, that Supreme Court is not eager to bring certain reforms. Supreme Court is not eager to bring reforms, particularly reforms in terms of appointment process. Reforms in terms of appointment process of higher judiciary. Already you might be knowing this particular thing, that when we talk about the elections of judges, the selection of judges in higher judiciary, Supreme Court has the power in that particular direction. For example, if judges are to be selected to Supreme Court, then those judges' recommendation will be given by collegium, and this collegium will consist of Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most judges of Supreme Court. And if appointment are to be made at High Court, then collegium will consist Chief Justice of India plus 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court. 2 senior most judges to Supreme Court. They gave their recommendation to President of India, and President of India, in accordance to that particular recommendation, makes the appointment of judges at Supreme Court and High Court. Okay. Now we have seen this particular thing that over the past, many names were cleared by collegium. Many names were cleared by collegium, but those names were not cleared by President. And Supreme Court said that deliberately executive is delaying appointment of judges. Fine. And we have seen this particular thing that at times vacancy in High Court reached to 41% even into last year. Okay, so this thing was okay. Now executive, first the law ministry, and then the Vice President of India had reverted, saying this particular thing, that entire process of appointment of judges is flawed. They said this thing, that there is a nepotism, favoritism that has come in judiciary. Judges, fine, they are choosing their own members of their institution, and often the phenomena of uncle judges have prevailed, where they are choosing their own relatives, their own friends, their own known ones in judiciary. So this is something which needs to be removed. And Vice President over and over again has provided this particular thing, that Supreme Court, fine, just a minute. Vice President over and over again has provided this particular thing, that Supreme Court has, what it has done, it has held that 99th Constitutional Amendment Act is invalid. Now, what was this 99th Constitutional Amendment Act? It provided for National Judicial Appointment Commission. Now, National Judicial Appointment Commission was constituted as a body that will recommend the names for High Court judgeship, Supreme Court judgeship, and for transfer of High Court judges. National Judicial Appointment Commission will make a recommendation which consisted the members of judiciary, members of executive, and eminent jurists. Supreme Court said that National Judicial Appointment Commission is unconstitutional. Why? Because it dilutes the power of judiciary. Moreover, under article number 145 of the Constitution, Supreme Court can decide its own conduct, the rules of its conduct, The rules of its operation can be decided by Supreme Court under Article 145. And here, the government, Parliament has interfered by bringing National Judicial Appointment Commission. So, National Judicial Appointment Commission dilutes the power of Supreme Court, and the dilution of Supreme Court's power cannot be done. Why? Because it is the basic structure of Constitution. Now, when we talk about basic structure of Indian Constitution, basic structure doctrine was provided in 1973 by Supreme Court in Keshwananda Bharti case. Keshwananda Bharti case. Keshwananda Bharti case, Supreme Court very clearly provided that there are certain sections of Indian Constitution that cannot be amended by Parliament. What are those sections? Judiciary will tell from time to time. And then judiciary said that you cannot dilute the power of judiciary. By bringing NJAC, you have taken away the power from judiciary to make appointments. So you have diluted the power of judiciary. And therefore it was said that the National Judicial Appointment Commission is unconstitutional. And therefore they reverted back to the collegium system that was going on. Now, after the gap of more than 7 years, again executive is bringing this particular matter that you reverted back the NJAC. What they are saying? They're saying that you have reverted back the NJAC. In a way, you are stopping reforms. Okay. Now, in this particular direction, guys, we have seen this particular thing that as All India Presiding Officers Conference, All India Presiding Officers Conference started, which is a conference where all Vidhan Sabhas, legislative councils, if they are there, Parliament, fine, their presiding officers, they will come together and they will discuss the common matters. So here, what happened? There was publicly, Vice President said this particular thing, that National Judicial Appointment Commission was a reform that Parliament brought. Supreme Court nullified that particular reform, and that was wrong, that was done by Supreme Court. Is it clear or not? Now, Vice President had made this particular criticism. Now, we need to understand some of provisions of Constitution. Okay, because guys, this particular controversy has become really big, and on this particular line, a kind of an opinion of yours can be asked. Now, see this particular thing. First of all, Article 141. Now, Article 141 provides this particular thing that the laws declared by Supreme Court is binding on all the courts, even the Supreme Court itself. Whatever law or whatever judgment has been given by Supreme Court, it is binding. Okay. Now you see this particular thing. In past, Supreme Court provided National Judicial Appointment Commission is unconstitutional and collegium system will prevail. So this is the judgment. This is the law that has been passed by Supreme Court. Today, the bench of Supreme Court, today, the bench of judges, today, the judges who are sitting in Supreme Court, they have to follow what has been said in the past. In past, collegium system has been held supreme, so they have to follow that thing. Are you getting it or not? Now, secondly, the National Judicial Appointment Commission judgment that came, okay, they provide this particular thing. Already I have told you, collegium system is there, which they have to follow. Now, the point is that if now Parliament wants, Parliament is free to bring the law. Again, they want to bring National Judicial Appointment Commission, they can bring it. They can design that how the appointment will be done. But even that particular matter, that particular law, if the Parliament comes out, it will be subjected to judicial review. Fine. Point is that every institution, every organ of the state has been given a specific role. Okay, they can fulfill their role. Okay, you cannot stop them that, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this thing. Parliament wants, they can again bring the law. Supreme Court wants, they can again review, because judicial review itself has been called as basic structure of Indian Constitution. Now what has happened? Basically, Vice President of India had said this particular thing that I don't believe in the basic structure doctrine. Parliament should be supreme, and by using the basic structure doctrine again and again, court is trying to dilute parliamentary sovereignty. They have said that one man upmanship is being promoted by Supreme Court. Okay, they say that only chiefs of India, okay, and the judges, they are trying to prove their own supremacy. This has been said. Now, Supreme Court has provided the Attorney General that basically today we need to follow certain established norms, certain established principles. If we don't follow the norms that have been laid down in the past, everybody will come out with their own laws, everybody will come out with their own rules, and entire society will go in chaos. So in past, Supreme Court by the judgment has said that NJAC is unconstitutional and collegium system will prevail. We need to follow that. Certain basically things that have been laid, we need to follow that. Now, Vice President already said this thing, that judicial review has diluted again and again parliamentary sovereignty, and the words such as one-upmanship has been used. Now, if we read Keshwananda Bharti case of 1973 very carefully, Keshwananda Bharti case specifically provided this particular thing. Keshwananda Bharti case specifically provided this particular thing, that judicial review is not a means to usurp parliamentary sovereignty. We are not bringing judicial review so that the parliamentary sovereignty is diluted. Rather, it is a constructive means of ensuring checks and balances. Checks and balances. Constitution itself has given responsibility to judiciary that you need to ensure that parliament doesn't breaches. Moreover, there is idea of a constitutionalism. Constitutionalism means a limited government, government which is restrained. Okay, so in order to uphold that idea of constitutionalism as well, what we need to do, we need to ensure this particular thing, that checks and balances should be respected. Okay, now moving on in this particular direction. So basically, guys, we also have some other judgments. For example, Madras versus VG judgment, Madras versus VG. Now, in this particular judgment, Supreme Court again provided that judicial review is undertaken by courts not out of any desire to tilt at a legislative authority, okay, in a crusader spirit, but in charge of duty laid down on them by the Constitution. So basically, it's provided that we never follow judicial review so that parliament's sovereignty is to be diluted, but it is done only to ensure that government of laws, moreover, is ensured. Article 368 is there. So Article 368 provides Parliament that Parliament can bring an amendment in the law. Article 368 provides that Parliament can bring an amendment in Constitution. It prescribes just a procedure, but it doesn't. It should not be treated as a power. It is not to be treated as a power. That Parliament has an unlimited power to amend the Constitution as they like. It is just a procedure. Okay, it's not a power. So Supreme Court can regulate it. Supreme Court can regulate it. Fine. This is, guys, all about this particular article which has come. So there are a lot of views, constitutional provisions that were mentioned, which we have tried to explain here, and all these particular things. So here, first of all, the news analysis article we have taken. Then judiciary legislature should respect boundaries by the Constitution. These things should not be there. And the Dhankard, that is Vice President's remarks, are extraordinary attack on judiciary. All these articles have been completed here. Now, moving to next article. Governor and the Chief Minister at loggerheads. Okay, so guys, all these articles have been repeated in the past 1 week. Okay, so the articles are like this only. Much new articles are not there. So anyhow, we can't do anything. A governor and a chief minister at loggerheads. Now, this particular article, guys, again we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, issues of polity. Issues of polity. Okay. Now, recently, we have seen this particular thing, that what happened. Recently, there are the dramatic events that happened in Tamil Nadu Assembly. So, in Tamil Nadu Assembly, governor was presenting governor's address in Tamil Nadu Assembly. So basically, guys, when the first session of every year or first session after general elections, here governor at state legislature will make an address. In that address, governor will outline government's policies, what government is trying to achieve, the government's agenda, okay, all these kind of things. Now, this speech that governor will make, that speech has to be cleared by the cabinet, okay, and governor has to ensure that he is following that particular speech only. Okay, now what happened, basically, when the governor started reading its speech, he skipped certain portions. He skipped certain portions of the speech which was approved by the state cabinet, and the portions that he skipped, there were references to political leaders. Okay, many of the political leaders references there. He skipped their names. Dravidian model of governance of the state, he missed this particular reference only. So selective reading of the speech was done. Now that particular thing was condemned by members of the Legislative Assembly. They said that you have deviated from the norm. Because of this particular thing, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu moved a resolution. He said that speech that was printed and was supplied to all the members, it will be accepted. The speech that governor has made, it will not be accepted. Okay, so that particular thing happened, and then governor walked out of assembly. Now this particular thing is something which should not happen. This is a kind of an ugly spat happening between governor and government, and we have seen this particular thing over and over again, that governor and government, particularly if the state government is ruled by the opposition party, they have come again at such kind of a loggerheads. So what are constitutional provisions in this particular direction? Let's see these constitutional provisions one by one. First of all, so in direction of constitutional provisions, we have number one, article number 154. So article 154 vests the executive power of the state in the hands of governor. So executive power at the level of state will be in hands of governor. Executive power at the level of center union will be in the hands of the president. Okay, here article 154 talks about the state. Okay, but this executive power cannot be exercised directly by governor. Governor will exercise that executive power through the officers. Who can be these officers? We have article 163 for that. Article 163 says that governor shall exercise his functions, his powers with aid and advice of council of ministers headed by chief minister. There are certain matters where he can act as a discretion. Apart from the discretionary matters, all other matters he had to act as per aid and advice of chief minister and council of ministers. Now, discretionary powers are mentioned in article 163 subclause 2. Now, it says that if any matter emerges, if there is any matter, okay, and it's not clear that who has to take decision, whether governor has to take decision or whether the government has to take decision. So if any question emerges, okay, as a matter, it belongs to whom? Governor or government. Then in those situations, governor needs to act as per his own discretion. Okay, so then governor can act in his or her own discretion. There are other matters also where governor can act in discretion. For example, when no party is able to secure majority, absolute majority, then governor can nominate a person as a chief minister, and then that particular person can prove the majority in those particular matters where the government has lost the confidence of the house there. So these are certain matters where governor can act in discretion. Okay. Now, when we talk about the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, it's very important to tame the power of president, particularly the executive. Now, see this thing. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act provided that the advice given by ministers, it will be binding on president. But such amendment was not brought for governor. So it means that indirectly or directly, it is not provided that it is binding. But there are Supreme Court judgments which have filled that particular gap. For example, we have 2016 Nebam Rabia judgment. In the Nebam Rabia judgment, it was provided by the Supreme Court that Article 163 of the Constitution does not give governor a general discretionary power. That in every matter he can act his at his discretion. No, it's not provided. Only in specific limited cases, governor can act as per his or her own discretion. Now, there is one more case, that is the Shamsher Singh case. In Shamsher Singh case, Supreme Court provided this particular thing, that president and the governor shall exercise their power in accordance with the advice of their ministers. Okay, fine. Only in exceptional circumstances they can act as per their discretion. So Shamsher Singh judgment and Nebam Rabia judgment, they very clearly provided that those discretionary power is there with the governor, but that is to be used in some extraordinary circumstances. In normal circumstances, they have to bear the advice of council of minister and chief minister. Now, when we talk about the general address that has been made, here governor was expected to read that text only which was approved by state cabinet. They should not have gone against that. Now, we see this particular thing, that the states which are non-BJP states, In those particular states, often such kind of confrontations have been seen where governor and government has come at with this clashes, which should not be there. Now, in this particular direction, guys, there are many suggestions that have also been given. For example, there should be appointment of non-political governors through independent mechanisms after consultation with the chief minister. Okay, so that the synergy is there. Non-political people, people who are detached from the politics, are not inclined towards a political party, they should be selected. Okay, and then here Sarkaria Commission very clearly provided this particular thing, that role of the governor is to see that the governor is formed, is to see that the government is formed, and not to try to form a government, not to try to form a government. Governor should not try that, okay, this government is to be formed, should not prefer one particular political party, but rather need to see that a government is formed, government is being carried by constitution, to ensure that the harmony is there. Okay, so such kind of things have need to be kept in mind. Okay, so guys, that is all about this particular article. Please keep these articles in your mind, because very important even for your prelims examination. Okay, so that is all about it, and now we'll move to next article. Moving to the next article. Okay, minority notification, center submits a view of states to Supreme Court. Now, this particular issue will see with respect to GS paper number 2 social justice, GS paper number 2 social justice, as well as GS paper number 2 social justice, as well as this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to we see this article with respect to certain prelims related facts as well. Okay, I'll show you that in just a minute. Now, let's take this particular article. Okay, so basically, guys, this particular issue of minorities is going on. Now, first of all, as we talk about the minorities in India, for minority groups, there are two most important articles in Constitution of India that we have. Okay, first of all, I am going to tell you background, and only we know the background, then we'll go in this particular article what has come. So in this article, only 2 lines of substance is there, but to know those 2 lines, some background is to be known first of all. So that background we are going to see. Now, when we talk about, guys, India, fine, we recognize the rights for minorities, and religious and linguistic minorities rights are recognized. For example, they can protect their culture, they can claim protection of their culture. Okay, they can administer and run their own educational institution. These 2 rights are provided under Article 29 and Article 30 of the Constitution. Okay, now the question comes that, okay, minorities can protect, can run their own institutions, can protect their culture, but who are minorities? Who are minorities? Constitution of India doesn't directly provide that these communities are minorities. So for defining minorities, we have Section 2C of National Commission for Minorities Act 1992. And as per the Section 2 of the NCT Act, National Commission NCM Act, fine, center government has been given power that they can recognize that who are actually the minorities and who will get all the benefits of the schemes for minorities, constitutional rights which are to be given to minorities. Okay, and government actually, okay, and for this particular thing, National Commission for Minorities have also been established. So there is a National Commission for Minorities Act, Section 2, according to which list of minorities can be prepared, and there is National Minority Commission also that's there. Now, they have recognized up till now 5 religious communities who are minorities: Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Zoroastrians. This was done originally in 1993, and then Jains are also added as a minority. So these are minorities. Fine, they can claim the rights of Article 29 to 30. Okay, good. Now, over in the recent times, petition have been filed in Supreme Court, and the petition is saying this thing, that right now power to declare the minority has been given to center, and center will notify minority for entire country. But there are certain states in which a community is a minority. For example, guys, when we talk about Hindus, we have seen this particular thing, that Hindus are a majority in the at the entire nation level, but Hindus are minority, particularly in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in Ladakh. Fine, Jammu and Kashmir, there Hindus are in minority. So many such communities are there which might not be a minority, but in a particular state they are minority. So state governments should be given the power that they can identify state specific minorities. Clear? In this particular direction, the petition has been filed. Now guys, so what they are saying, they are questioning the exclusive power that has been given by, they are questioning the exclusive power that has been given to center, exclusive power that has been given to center to notify the minority community. Now in this particular direction, Supreme Court has also come with the judgment, that is the TMA Pi case. TMA Pi case. In TMA Pi case, Supreme Court provided that linguistic and religious minorities must be identified at the state level. They must be identified at the state level rather than at national level. Okay. So this is something that they have provided. Now as a follow-up, because the petitions have been filed, center government is asking the views of the state government, and now center government is inviting that, okay, what you think, whether the minorities should be identified at the level of center or they should be identified at the state level. So different state governments are submitting their viewpoints right now. Fine. So different state governments are now submitting their viewpoints. For example, Tamil Nadu, they have said this thing that no, we want that recognition of minorities should be at the level of state. Okay. Now in this particular direction, guys, Delhi government has given one suggestion. Delhi government has given one suggestion. Delhi government said this particular thing, that center can grant a new status, a new type of minority status, that is migrated minority status. Migrated minority status. Now, which minorities will get that? So we have seen this thing that many of the Hindus, particularly Kashmiri Pandits, have migrated in past from Jammu and Kashmir to Delhi and many other places as well. Now, when the Hindus are there in Delhi, they are not a minority. But Kashmiri Pandits, they have came to Delhi because they have faced a lot of injustices and all such kind of things. We need to provide them some kind of an extra special care. Okay, so we need to come out with the migrated minority status that will be given to Hindus who have moved to national capital from places such as Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, where there are religious minority. Okay, this is one suggestion that has been given. So basically, guys, the article that we have seen above, okay, article that we have seen above, okay, that's here. This only 2-line substance is there in this article. Delhi government suggested this thing, this 2-line substance, but out of the box, this doesn't mean that, okay, why they have given this suggestion, what's the meaning of this suggestion, it doesn't make much of a sense. So therefore knowing the background first is important, and once we know this particular background, then we'll be able to see that, okay, out of a broader scheme of things, this one suggestion has come. Now this matter has not been concluded till now. Okay, this process is going on. Okay, so nothing, conclusion has not come, but you need to know this issue because it's a very important issue. Now, moving to next article, entering a year of uncertainty, Now, this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international affairs. Now, see this thing. So, basically, the article is talking about that what are the broad trends, broad scenarios of uncertainties that we are going to anticipate in 2023. A minute. Fine. So basically, guys, we see this particular thing that, first of all, past year 2022, what was the most significant event that happened? Russia-Ukraine conflict that started. It has become the major disruptor of the entire world. Largest, it is one of a very big disrupting events of 2022. Now we see this thing that basically in 2021, Russia already started its adventurism. For example, it started to ensure a build-up around the Ukraine. It started to deploy its troops near the regions of Ukraine. Okay, and the planning of Russia got started in 2021. Okay, now it could not have been anticipated that though Russia will attack, but Ukrainian nationalism will become supreme. We have seen this thing that Ukraine has demonstrated that strength that was not anticipated. Moreover, when we see the response of the West, it has also been very swift. West has been acted very fastly in the face of Russian aggression. This is something that has happened. Now, many of the events that we find in Russia-Ukraine war, they are different from World War I. So basically, World War I, in 1916, the risk of escalation both horizontally and vertically was underplayed. Horizontally means many other countries who are not the part of the war, they are becoming the parties of the war. So horizontally the war expanded. Okay, this thing was not envisaged in the World War I, one thing. Secondly, vertical, fine. We see this particular thing that right now vertical escalation would means use of nuclear weapons, use of nuclear weapons. Now, horizontal escalation means opening new fronts. Vertical escalation means using nuclear weapons. Now, this particular thing has been accommodated in the present times. In 1916, it was underplayed. Today, there are in 1916, as in 1916, there are many unknowns today as well. Okay, there are unexpected incidents that can happen, that can bring some dangerous outcomes. Okay, for example, guys, we saw that in World War I, World War II, many of the countries, they form alliances, they come together, and because of that, the war became more and more deadly. Okay, today, even if such kind of alliances are formed, it might lead to some unexpected result. Okay, today already we see this particular thing, that a kind of a proxy kind of a war is going on between US, Europe, NATO on one hand and Russia on the another hand. Okay, today we also see this particular thing, that the war is falling out on the economic realm as well. For example, sanctions have been imposed by West on Russia. Russia has been banned from SWIFT network. Russian foreign assets have been seized. This is something that has happening during this particular war. And China is taking an opportunistic has taken an opportunistic position. China is trying to deep its relation with Russia. Okay, we see this particular thing, that China has outrightly declared that China is supporting Russia. Moreover, both countries have said that the relations are enjoying the best period in their shared histories. Okay, now at the same time, we see this particular thing, that the defense spending by different countries have also increased. Almost every country has increased their defense spending. Okay, now see this particular thing, that number one, you take example of Japan. You can take example of Japan. Okay, now guys, when we talk about the Japan had a pacifist constitution. Japan had a pacifist constitution after World War II. According to pacifist constitution, it meant that Japan will not spend substantially on defense. Okay, but now Japan has said that they will breach that limit, and around 2% of their GDP they will spend on defense. This is something that is going on. Then guys, why Japan has said this particular thing? Because Japan says that today we are facing threats from China and North Korea, and in order to be prepared against those particular threats, we are going to increase our spendings. In that particular thing, India guys also has increased spending in the past. Moreover, India has changed its posture. India has changed its posture from non-alignment in the past to multi-alignment, which we also call as strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy. Okay, so in this particular strategic autonomy, India is outrightly saying this particular thing, that we will have multiple partners, and these multiple partners will be chosen on the basis of India's need. Okay, so we might have multiple partners in this particular capacity. So this is something, India's postures that have got changed. Today, India is looking for allies, for example, Quad, fine, where US, Australia, Japan and India are there. India is also increasing the defense ties with the countries such as France, because France today has become the state-of-the-art supplier of defense weaponry. You know about the Rafale jets that have been transferred from France to India. Okay, and many other dimensions also, France-India relations are being enhanced. This is something that has happened. So further guys, we see this particular thing, that even new relations which are being formed, for example, China and Russia. Now, China-Russia friendship that is blooming now, it has left a less room for India in vis-a-vis Russian relations are concerned. Okay. Moreover, meanwhile, we also see this particular thing, that India has certain other threats. For example, we have unsettled borders. With both China and Pakistan. These things will counter strategic concerns for India in times to come. Russia is inclined towards China. we could have used Russia in our favor in these particular matters, but now Russia has inclined towards China, and at the same time, with China and Pakistan, we have unresolved boundary matters. Okay. Next thing we find this particular thing, guys, that India is also facing new challenges. For example, Nepal. In Nepal, elections have been fought, and a new government that has been formed in Nepal. It looks that it's more favoring, it's more tilted towards the China. So this is one very big concern. Second thing is that with Afghanistan also we are not having the good relation, because now in Afghanistan Taliban has come to the power, and Taliban again might let its territory use for terrorism. Okay, so we see this thing that the group such as the Islamic State Khorasan province, now ISISK, it has held anti-India posture in past, and Taliban has a kind of a close relations with them. So terrorism as a threat emanating from Afghanistan might be a big problem for India. Moreover, when we talk about India, India's neighbors such as Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, with there also we need to use skillful diplomacy. With Bangladesh, there are still many unresolved matters. Sri Lanka is facing economic crisis. How to ensure that the economic revival of Sri Lanka can be done without putting a lot of pressure on India. Okay, so these issues are there which we need to ensure that we need to deal with them in a with a skillful diplomacy. Okay, that is all about this particular article, guys. I hope that this article is clear. Okay, meanwhile, guys, if you have any doubt, you may ask your doubts. Okay, yes, guys, any doubt? Fine. Now, moving to next article. Will the budget be populist or fiscally responsible? Will the budget be populist or fiscally responsible? Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that first of all, you need not to go too much in detail in this particular article. Why? Because just in couple of weeks, budget will be announced, and we will see that actually what is this budget, whether the budget is populist or whether a budget is sustainable, whether a budget is balanced. So actually we'll see when the budget will be announced. So you don't need to go too much in detail. But anyhow, we'll see that what are the key takeaways that have been given in this particular article as well. So basically, guys, the new budget, union budget, is to be presented in Parliament, and there are expectations out of the budget. Now expectations are something like this. Expectations are out of the budget. Some people say that it will be a populist budget. Just a minute. Okay, so some people say that it is going to be a populist budget. Populist budget. What do we mean by populist? Okay, or populism? Basically, guys, populism is any act where government aims to attract more and more people. When people will be attracted, when you give people a lot of freebies. Okay, when you give people free juicer, mixer, grinder, free this, free that, free that. Okay, so many number of times government actions are populistic actions where they want to attract more and more people. So this budget might be a populistic budget in nature. Okay, and if it is a populistic budget, government will spend more and more money to attract people. Or it could be a progressive budget. Progressive budget. Abhi, what is progressive budget? Progressive budget is that which doesn't looks in short-term interest. Progressive budget is that which aims to ensure the economic reforms, which in long run will bring the enhancement in our nation's economy. Okay. Today, guys, we see this particular thing. The article is speculating this thing, that in the present times, government cannot afford a populist budget. Populist budget. Now, you need to spend more and more just to attract people. But right now, we see this particular thing that already government's ability to borrow. Government's ability to borrow is restrained. Government's revenues are restrained. Inflation is very much high. Already government has spent a lot. Now, basically, there is a target to achieve fiscal consolidation by 2024-25. We need to reduce our expenditures, and fiscal deficit is to be reached to 4.5% of GDP by 24-25. So we need to reduce our expenditure. So therefore, this budget might not be that populist. Okay, but guys, again a question comes that next year elections are impending. And as elections are impending, there might be a possibility that the government might try to attract more and more people. So we cannot underplay that no, it's not at all going to be a populistic budget. Okay. Now see this particular thing. It has been seen, it has been provided that elections were there in 2014 also, 2019 also, and before the elections, government tried to come with the populistic budget. They spend more and more to attract people. But this thing might not happen now. Why? Because in 2014, 2019, 2014, 2019, there was a kind of a leg room to spend more. Therefore, government came out with schemes such as the PM Kisan, where the where the cash transfers were given to the farmers to the tune of 6,000 rupees per year. But now we don't have that particular leg room because of fiscal burden that has been imposed by the pandemic, inflation that has been very high, unsustainable in the past. So therefore, government might be focusing on reforms more. Moreover, in the past, government has already focused on reforms. Government has shown pro-reform stance. For example, we see this particular thing, that reforms in power structure has been announced to clean up the mess in which the power distribution companies are there. Government has taken up capital expenditure projects, for example, National Infrastructure Pipeline, Gati Shakti initiative, where capital expenditure which in long term will bring certain systemic reforms, government is focusing on such. Okay, so this is, guys, all about it. Fine. However, I'll not suggest you to go too much in detail in this particular article, because I have already told you that budget will anyhow be coming in just a couple of weeks times. Okay, now missing doctors. Fine. Community healthcare centers face 80% shortfall of specialists, show health ministry data. Now, guys, what has happened? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has released rural health statistics report. Rural health statistics report. Now, this particular report is published, I told you, by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the structure of healthcare in India, first of all, we have sub-centers. Now, these sub-centers are at the rural levels, okay, at the rural levels, which cater population of around 5,000 people, okay, population of 5,000 people. Then we have a primary healthcare center. Now, over 5 or 6 sub-center, there will be a primary healthcare center, which will cater the population of around 30,000 people. 30,000 people in plains, 20,000 people in hilly areas. And then there are community healthcare centers. Community healthcare center. Now, over 4 or 5 PHCs, there will be one community healthcare center which will cater to around population of 1,20,000 people. Now, this particular report that has come, it's talking about the community healthcare centers. Now, it's saying that at the CHC level, there is a lot of shortage of the trained medical personnels. Now, if we go in this particular article, guys, we can see this particular thing, that there is a lot of shortage of the staffs. For example, surgeons. In 2022, there is a 71.9 or 72% shortfall of surgeons. Okay. In the obstetrics and gynecology, we see that there is a shortage of around 63%. Okay. Physicians, a shortage of around 67.5%. Okay, pediatricians, for shortage of 69.7%. Okay, in total 67.8% of shortage is there in terms of staff in these CHCs. Okay, around 67.8% shortages of the CHC is there in these. Fine. Okay, so this particular data has been given here also. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about universal healthcare, when we talk about the community healthcare, we need to first of all ensure that trained human resource, trained staff needs to be there in these particular facilities. Why there this kind of a shortage? Often it's because there are poor planning, poor policies, and often financial limitations are also there. Now, National Health Policy of 2017 already provided that GDP expenditure, fine, for the health is needed to be enhanced to 2.5%. Fine, is to be enhanced to 2.5%. Okay, by 2025. But up till now, it has not happened. So immediately we need to put attention towards these particular things. Is it clear or not? Now, it has been provided that apart from the specialist doctors, okay, there is also the shortage of health workers. Okay, ASHA workers, fine, ANM, auxiliary nursing midwives, ANMs. Okay, up to 14.4% posts are even vacant at primary healthcare center and sub-centers that I have told you. Okay, most basic sub-center, then PHC, and then community centers. Fine, so this is the shortage. Fine, you can use this particular report which is released by the government itself in answers if you are writing in terms of the shortage in health infrastructure that is there. Now moving on. Okay. So this particular article, guys, you don't need to go too much in detail. Basically, what has happened recently, India, US. Now this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3. Fine, trade relations. Okay, in GS paper number 3 FTA, and in GS paper number 2 also, fine, trade relations we can use it. So recently India US trade policy forum meeting got concluded. Now what India is trying to do, India is trying to sign a full-fledged free trade agreement with USA, so that India can enhance the exporting potential of India. Okay, when two countries sign free trade agreements, they will reduce their tariffs. Okay, they will reduce the restrictions on the import and export that is there between the two countries. Okay, so in this particular direction, we are trying to conclude a full-fledged FTA with USA, and for that particular thing, India-US Trade Policy Forum meeting got held. Now, it has been provided by India that India is thinking big. Okay, India is not thinking on a mini trade pact. Mini trade pact. Mini trade pact means a trade agreement, an FTA, which is limited on certain areas. Okay, we want to go for a full-fledged FTA, and for that particular thing, we are negotiating. Now, guys, often it has been said, now there is the GSP. Now GSP stands for Generalized System of Preferences. Generalized System of Preferences. What is this GSP? Under the GSP, developing countries can export their goods to the USA, okay, without USA duty free. Now duty, custom, taxes are being imposed. So duty free exports can be made to the USA under this GSP scheme. India was eligible under the GSP scheme, and India's exports were going to the USA duty free. But when Donald Trump came to the power, Donald Trump scrapped the preference given to India under GSP. Now, GSP became an irritant between India and USA. Now, we see this particular thing. That it has been provided by the Minister of the Commerce Minister, that GSP is not a priority for India right now. Even the industry is not concerned that the GSP is the preference that was given to India under GSP. It has been cancelled. So they say that we are not looking for GSP and all such kind of things or any mini trade pact. We are looking for a full-fledged trade relation between India and the USA. And on that particular thing, we are negotiating with each other. Clear? So that is, guys, which has been provided. Now, you don't need to go too much in this particular direction. However, if something concrete will come, we'll see that in detail. These are ongoing negotiations, which as a procedure continue. Okay. Now, India intensified crackdown on activist media in 2022 Human Rights Watch report. Okay, so guys, the NGO Human Rights Watch, they have released their World Report of 2023. In this particular report, they have said this particular thing, that Indian authorities have broadened the crackdown on activists. They have broadened the crackdown on media, and directly here the ruling government has been called in question. Directly here it has been said that Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party led government has used abusive discriminatory policies and all such kind of things. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that the report is overcritical. The report is overcritical in terms of its tones, in terms of its reference. Outrightly, it is calling a government to be discriminatory vis-a-vis certain minority groups, etc. Okay. Fine. Now they have said that Article 370 got diluted, freedom of speech and expression is getting submerged, laws are being misused. Fine, all these particular things are being given. Okay, so guys, the point is that if a question is there where you are outrightly saying that there is an erosion of fundamental rights, etc., that has happened, you can use it, but the report is too critical in its tone. Okay, so therefore we'll not go too much in that particular thing, because outrightly politically the government is being called out on that matter. Okay, now mains practice question for today. So today's mains practice question, it reads that China-Russia entity created a dent in India's long-standing strategic relationship with Russia, the impact of which could be far-reaching. Analyze. So this will be a 10 marker question for GS paper number 2 IR. GS paper number 2 IR international relation. Okay. And guys, you know this thing that you can upload your question on the peer reviewed Telegram group that we have created. And if you don't know, guys, you can reach to our main Telegram channel, that is Thinking Parrot by Sahil. There you can go to the pinned comment. In pinned comment, we have put the link of the group where you can upload your answers. It is a peer reviewed group. It means you can write your answers, you can see what others are writing, okay, and you might get a feedback from your fellow friends. Fine. So that is all, guys, about this particular session for today. And with this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper session. Guys, if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, and thanks for all the lovely encouraging comments that you leave on video. I personally read every comment, and I even remember almost everybody of your names who are commenting there as well. So I read them every day. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.